I always hate this part. I know I say it every time and it's so boring, but I do hate this part where I can't see you yet and it hasn't actually gone live yet. That's my least favorite part, but okay. But there you are. Well, you're not there yet because there's still that horrible 30-second delay. So I'm going to continue to chat until you know the routine. I never think I'm here until you say you're here in the chat. Oh, there's like a weird thing in my hair sticking out. My friend Pam tells me not to get distracted by my hair, but I just did. So, you know, it's going very well so far, don't you think? Okay, someone come in the room and tell me that you're here. It is really hot here today, but not as hot as Monday, where it was 90 degrees in my filming room. And I taught for the Westchester Guild and I was like melting under these lights. Okay, there y'all. Now you guys are starting to come in. Hello from Montana. Hello from Arkansas. Okay, it always makes me feel better when you start coming in. Hello, Massachusetts. Hello, Ottawa. Okay, so here I have to do that, you know, because I pretended not to be professional for so long. So welcome to Patty's Quarantine Live. This is a little weekly get together that I started 18 weeks ago. And for those of you who have been hanging on with me since the beginning, you know they began with me being sad and lonely and missing knitters. And so I came on and I blathered on endlessly. Ooh, Spain's in the house, British Columbia. Oh, very hot Saskatchewan. That's really hard to say. Okay, I have to scroll back later and say hello to you all. Boston, oh, there's so many people here. So, you know, I started 18 weeks ago, just me blathering on endlessly. And then I got sick of the sound of my own voice. So I started inviting friends. And this has all been like incredibly informal and incredibly not terribly promote-y or professional. And, you know, a friend of mine that has a YouTube channel was like, you know, you don't even tell people to subscribe. So, okay, so now I'll do that thing. If you like it, please subscribe and you'll get notified next time there's a live. I'm actually at 8.95 subscribers. So it'll be really fun to get to 9,000. It'd be even more fun to get to 10,000. And if you like it, hit the little thumbs up button. And if you don't like it, I don't have to tell you to do anything because you are going to do it anyway. You're going to hit the thumbs down and you're going to leave me a nasty comment. But why? I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'm going to see who's here. Oh my gosh, so many people. Oh, Maine. Maine's in the house. Colorado, Maryland, Vane, Cape, Vane, what? Vale, no, not Vale. Virginia, Cape Cod, Quebec, New York, Long Island, Buffalo, Wisconsin, Oklahoma. Oh my gosh, so many people. Okay, so probably many of you are not here to see me. And that's okay. I'm not an idiot. I know that when, like last week, I had a very large Canadian contingency in the house. And that was awesome because a lot of folks were here to see Kate because she's awesome. My mic is all weird and crooked, but I don't care because I was late and Clara took a picture of me sticking my mic down my chest. So I'm really looking forward to that going on social media. But anyway, so many of you might be here for the first time. If you are here for the first time, that's okay. Say hi, because you're probably not here to see me, but to see a certain yarn whisperer that we know and love. So get those questions ready, get the applause ready, because here she is, the one, the only, Clara Parks. And the crowd goes wild.
Hey, cool. Wait.
I don't mean to embarrass you, but there's something in your, you got something sticking out of your ear. Yeah. Is that?
It's called my earbuds.
Oh, that's on purpose.
No,
okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to plug my ears so I can't hear you. So I can just.
Yeah. Nicely played. Okay.
That would be good if I just got Q-tips in my ears.
We clearly have a lot of people here for you because once again, last week we had a huge turnout. There's a huge turnout. We have people from all over. We have Spain, we have Houston, Connecticut, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Boise. There's a lot of folks here. So I forgot to tell you, because I'm so profesh, that if you wanted to, you could have the YouTube window up and see the comments come in. I was unorganized and I didn't tell you that. Or I can just tell you stuff. Like when people ask a question, I'll say, oh, we have an interesting question here. Because it's live and people are chatting with us. Some people say they love us both, even though I know that's not true. Mary says, I love Clara's books. Oh, is there a new one? Here we go. Is there a new one out soon? Did you just like, I mean, can we talk about this for a second? Do you ever feel like you just finish proofing a manuscript, put it in the mail, and people are like, when are you going to write your next book?
No, what I love,
which is great,
right?
By the way.
But yeah, we started in a place of gratitude on this, but when people say, which I love because it means I did my job right, like that I binge read your book in 6 hours. I read it in one night. I can't wait for the next one. And it's like,
you're like,
that took 2 years to write that. But no, that's just the motivation to get going on the next one. So no.
I like the wait, have you audio booked? Is that a verb? That's not a verb. What's the word? Recorded is the word.
Yeah.
I'm really hot and really tired.
Words are hard.
Have you done all of your books? Or all of the books read by you on audio?
Well, let me just answer that question for you. I have read this one.
Yeah, that one I have.
And I have read this one.
Oh, I don't have that one on audio. I haven't
and I've read
audio.
This one. So I got to read, yeah.
Because for those folks that binge a book, might I suggest, especially now in, I'm going to tell you something that was said to Terry Gross, and she had the funniest, Terry Gross, she's Fresh Air. Okay.
Thanks, Terry. Yeah.
And she had the funniest response, which was, thank you. But now in pandemic land, where many of us are having trouble sleeping, I would highly recommend to people that have binged the books to buy the audiobooks and so someone said this to Terry Gross, that he loved listening to her podcast. He found her voice very soothing, and it would always put him to sleep. To which Terry said,
Thank you.
And he said, no, but then when I wake up, I do rewind so that I can hear what I've missed. That wasn't the point. But I find your voice very relaxing.
Well, that's motivation to put secret messages in my book. So if people go to sleep with them, I'm just saying, you gotta make hay.
You mean like recording?
Like the wall.
Good. Yeah. When you play the album backwards?
The walrus will fall, exactly. Then you wake up and you're like, why? I don't even know why do I suddenly no longer want coffee, but I want to drink Diet Mr. Pibb? This isn't normal. You can think.
Wool is good. You are not allergic to wool.
I'd just be like, you're a sheep. That would be good.
Oh, now Rosemary said Vanishing Fleece audio was fabulous.
Thank you, Rosemary. I'm not reading the YouTube because if I do that, okay, I'm going to try while you do that.
No, you don't have to. It's not required. We had a book club with Laura Nelkin and traveled around Knitters Knitlandia. It was so great. Yay. So are you an audiobook podcast person?
I'm a podcast person.
Yeah.
I can't do audiobooks because when I do get into a book, I read really, 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 really fast. And so it frustrates me. So, but oh yeah, podcast.
See, I open it, so I'm ready to type in because I'm always on the hunt. So do you have any new favorites? Because I'm always on the hunt because they don't get new episodes aren't coming out fast enough for how much I'm listening lately.
Did I just suspect? Well, I mean, Dolly Parton's America, which we've that, and which you've
I love her.
Have you listened to Dolly Parton's America?
No, I love her. I've loved her ever since I was a little kid. When she used to be on, when I was a kid, and I go to visit my grandma and grandpa, and first in Memphis and then in the Ozarks, and she was on a TV show with the guy with the weird hair, whose name
what's his name? That she left and sang "I Will Always Love You," partly to get away from him.
And they gave, and there were towels in Tide. You had to buy boxes of Tide, and there was a rolled up towel in it. And so you'd get like one washcloth, and then you get a face. So you'd have to buy like a million boxes of Tide to get the full set. I don't know why I remember that. Oh, I'm so sorry that.
Well, Dolly Parton's America, it's absolutely genius. I mean, you listen to it and you think this episode is an entire book in itself. It's analyzing different segments of kind of American culture and traditions through her music, but it's genius. So that, and the other one I love, Mike Birbiglia is Working It Out.
I love him. So, I'm a little obsessed with him. Being from Brooklyn, he does his shows live at BAM. So I've gotten to see him a bunch of times because there's a thing called Radio Love Fest, which is a big celebration at BAM where all your favorite radio shows do a show live. So This American Life has done shows live, and so anyway.
Yeah. Oh, lucky you.
Yeah. I love that one. Okay, so that's a good one. All right, good, because I'm running out of content. Like some of the ones that I love. Do you listen to Heavyweight?
No.
It's really good, but they're just not putting out enough stuff. Oh, what about I Weigh?
No.
Oh my God, that's Jamil. I always have trouble pronouncing her name because her first name and her last name sound very similar. Jamil. I love her. I'm obsessed with her.
Oh my God. I Weigh. Weigh. Yeah.
I'm like insanely obsessed with her. Okay. I'm a little bit in love with her, but she's just she's a genius.
Yeah.
But,
let's see. Oh, I know the other one, and now I'm forgetting it, and that's just not going to work. But another kind of an esoteric one is Rambling with Claire Balding.
Ooh.
Any BBC listeners in the house? It's a radio program from the UK, and she basically takes people on walks. And so she'll be, discussing like the mental health benefits of walking with a psychotherapist as they're strolling. But then she'll be like, "Oh, there's a copse in the distance. There's 3 buntings that have just," and and you hear water and trees.
I got that one too.
Yeah. Anyway, those are.
Oh, and then one more. Okay, and then I'll answer this. Ologies. Do you listen to Ologies? That's got you written all over it. She's funny and weird, and it's sort of quirky the way Radiolab is like real content, but with a little quirk. So she interviews, she interviews an ologist every week. So like one week you'll just take a deep dive into snails. Or into, just like the most random stuff. By the way, someone said Porter Wagner.
There you go. Yeah,
that's his name. Okay, thank God. And Alec Baldwin. Yeah, someone said Alec Baldwin's podcast. It is good, but there's a whole lot of him inserted in there.
But are you finding that he's interrupting people a little less?
I stopped listening a while ago. Is he interrupting people else?
A little bit less, yeah. Like I also had to stop because it was like, you're interviewing him, although he's a fascinating dude, but like,
interesting.
Can we hear from him? So yeah.
Do you think he got feedback about that?
You wouldn't have to be around it.
Do you remember? And by the way, I love him, but do you remember the Dick Cavett show, the one from the 70s where it was just him and one person like sitting on 2 chairs?
And he would.
And he would.
this is my opportunity. Oh, my great grandmother used to watch that. You're welcome. No, what you're supposed to do. Yeah, no, we didn't have a TV until I was
No,
8.
seriously?
Yeah, I had musician parents, so we, like, yeah, we made up for it though. We binged.
We only had a black and white TV, and my two grandparents, my dad's dad and my mom's dad, were both against getting a TV, but for totally different reasons. One thought it was a fad and would disappear in a second.
Totally.
One thought there was no point buying a TV now because next year the color ones will come out.
That's like the perfect no escape. Yeah. Okay.
But Dick Cavett used to have an interview show, and he would really research his guests so much, which I appreciated. It was awesome. But sometimes he would say like, oh, in 1962 when you said blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it'd be interesting. But I'll never forget when he was interviewing Paul Simon and now I can't remember whether it was Rhythm of the Saints or Graceland, but the song Obvious Child. And there's a line that says the cross is in the ballpark. And Dick Cavett does this whole analysis. And he's like, as a sports fan, I so loved that analogy of the T-ball cross. You're old enough that you can play T-ball, but not old enough that you can play Little League. And it's so much about, the development and growing up and and Paul Simon said, that is fascinating. I literally have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what T-ball is. I just meant the cross, the burdens you bear are in the ballpark. They're doable. But what you said is fabulous. And anyway, art, it's a funny thing.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, MoMA has great podcasts, and Dave Tennant has a great podcast. Oh, hi from Massachusetts. Oh, hi, what sweater are you wearing? It's Roselle. I'll put it in the notes. So hi. Oh my God, it's so nice to see you.
I know.
How's life where you are? All locked up in your house.
I think it's probably, well, not right now. It's 600 degrees here too, but I think it's probably like a lot of people, we're holding steady and trying to find balance throughout each day. And we're in a very, very, very lucky position to be in the country and to be in a state that's handling its numbers very well. So, and yet we're connected to the world. And so there's this balancing this, like the world is absolutely falling apart and people are suffering and it's not good. And look at that beautiful sunset. And I think every day is just about like trying to find a way to connect the two that doesn't leave you curled up in a fetal position, unable to move forward.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine about the sort of guilt, like not wanting, feeling like you shouldn't be finding joy, but then that you have to. Like that's our job as humans on this earth, is to appreciate what's around us and to try to find the joy. So that really helped me stop feeling guilty about like simple pleasures and finding joy, because how dare I be in nature and not appreciate it? That's also like a sin. So, be out there and love your yarn and love your. So is yarn still coming to you to swatch and review, or is that really slowed down?
That's really slowed down.
For a while.
I've kind of intentionally slowed it down a little bit. I sort of reached a point where, how do you even describe this? a lot of the innovation that was happening, and a lot of the big energy that's happening is around hand dyers, and it has been rising for many years now. And
so the bases aren't that different. It's
and
what they do with the colors.
Which is a whole other, like, I should be interested because I'm an art history major, but so I should be, you know, oh yes, abstract expressionist angst in the blues. But yeah, and also, like, I started Knitters Review back when stuff was really inaccessible and you had no information about it, and you were just splurging sometimes on stuff that you had no idea. And so I wanted to be the person to point you towards the things that are worth your hard-earned money, that have interesting stories. And I wasn't reviewing stuff that was easily available because you could pick it up and squeeze it, and sniff it, and play with it yourself. And just so we live in a different world now. So and my interest, I've just gotten more, like, the deeper I go into the fiber part, the more excited I get. Like, the more I'm realizing, my question has always been, I know, like, whenever I would go to these events and all the designers and the teachers afterwards, we'd all be hanging out and you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm wearing the Scheherazade. Oh, well, she did a Springley last week and it was blah, blah, blah. And I'm just there like, what yarn did you use? That's all I want to, like, what are the fibers in it? So, like, that's, and it just, so that's kind of because it is our second skin, and we don't think about that nearly enough. That, like, what you're putting on your body has so much of an impact on your comfort and well-being, and on the well-being of the planet, and the well-being of communities that produce the wool, there's no bias, or grow the fiber that requires tons of water and pesticides, or not a lot of water and not a lot of fiber. It's just, that's where I'm really interested in right now. I guess
yeah, like I loved when the one year that you did the reading at Amy's retreat, and it was the section, oh, and it wasn't even published yet. Oh, that was exciting. It was from the manuscript, and it was the section that was all about the tour of the mill and meeting the people that made the yarn, and what was involved in that, and how, you know, and like auditioning almost. I felt like I really had a window into a little world that not a lot of us get a window into, you know.
Well,
so
I'm glad that was my first time reading from Vanishing Fleece before I even had the confidence to think it was a book. And I remember halfway through reading that thinking, if as you're doing readings, your brain is maintaining a whole second dialogue parallel to what's coming out of your mouth. So I'm just like, pace yourself, pace yourself. This is too geeky. The book should have had pictures. I couldn't have pictures, but I wanted drawings. You couldn't have drawings. Yeah.
But then did you ever look up and notice that there were 135 people like this?
Well, it's the silence. I have to remember that the silence is, my whole goal is to get people to put their knitting down. Not that I don't want them to knit, but like, that's my barometer for, okay, how far did I reach you? If you're like, well, I need full brain for this.
I totally get you. And I still have, you remember, I don't know if you remember, but I bought 4 of the chocolatey brown, like just, and I said, oh, I don't, you know, these are going to sit in my basket for a while. And you were like, no, knit something with it. And I will, and I want to, but I'm torn between designing something on it or just picking out somebody else's pattern that I admire and not worrying about anything but the knitting, but the yarn moving through my fingers, and not having to worry, and having somebody else tell a story. That's what I'm a little torn between. But oh my God, they're so beautiful. They're just stunning.
I would just treat yourself. Are you able to knit other people's designs without thinking, I would have done this differently? I would have done, like,
Yes. So here's the thing. I have this conversation with a bunch of different people. Like Brooke Nico, she can't imagine knitting someone else's design, not because of that, but just because she's like, when I get bored, I'll just pick up needles and do things. But that's because a design for her just goes like, oh, there's a design came out. Like that. I agonize. I'm really not that. And Kate says, oh, I could never knit someone else's design because I'm too distracted by, well, I wouldn't have written it that way. Oh, would have been clearer. She said, but do you know Carol Feller? So she, I was so honored. I feel like saying to the YouTube people, sorry, you guys have heard this story already, that she bought Roselle, the tee that I'm wearing. And I saw her name and I was like, and I messaged her and I said, you didn't have to buy that. I would have given it to you. She said, no, I always, I like to buy other people's patterns. I'll probably never knit it, but I like to read other people's patterns. And I said, oh, well, you've now inspired me to buy one of yours that I've had my eye on. So I did buy it. I still haven't knit it yet. So no, I just don't knit other people's patterns because I feel this stupid pressure that then I'm not generating income. Like I need to be,
Well, that's the problem when you turn your passion into your profession, as they say, right? It's like you almost have to have two separate boxes. Like this is Patty playing and this is Patty working.
So this is like when I finally get to, do the knitting part, this is the dessert part of my job, right? The part that I do not enjoy is the design part, the grading part, all the math part. Oh, I'm going to steal this from the podcast Ologies. She always asks every ologist to name one of the things that they either hate about their job or that's a huge misconception about their job that drives them nuts, that people think that, oh, this is what your job is, or this is what your industry is. So do you have something that drives you nuts, or is the biggest misconception about our land of knitting and yarn? That was a put you on the spot moment.
Yeah, this is my
do
I go there face.
Oh,
sorry, it's my do I go there face.
We here in Patty's Quarantine Live go there, but you don't have to if you don't feel comfortable. I can change the subject. You can give me this if it's time to change the subject.
First I'm wondering if I should try tethering to my phone. Am I blipping in and out?
You froze once.
Okay, I'm going to try because I keep getting a message that my internet connection is unstable.
Okay.
But I just need to let everybody know what I'm doing.
Okay. When you froze, that's when I just kept talking because I was waiting for you to come back.
There we go. Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I guess one thing, and this is, somebody just sent me an email very recently. I get emails from people like, I feel like I have something to say. I want to be a writer in the knitting world. How do I go about? And there's a frustration in all writing. I feel like I've been extremely fortunate to have been able to write 7 books, and I might be working on my 8th. You can't make a living at it. You have to have another job. And I guess because I don't want people to think, I guess that's why I have to say something, that it's just like, I'm living off that sweet book money. But and I'm not complaining, but if you want to go into this field, you need to know you have to have 5 other things that you're doing simultaneously, because the state of publishing right now is so embittered that so there's that. But the other thing is the misconception. You probably get it. Oh, you're so lucky, you just get to play with yarn all day long.
Oh yeah.
And how much of it's all administrative and answering emails and nurturing relationships and negotiating all sorts of stuff and troubleshooting tech problems and so much that isn't that part of it. However, still, it's an extraordinarily lucky field that we're in to be able to have kind of direct responsibilities here versus where you could be, where I have been before. So anyway.
I got to play with yarn even more when you know, my trajectory has been odd. You know, I was a Broadway stage manager for 22 years. Now I'm a full-time knitting teacher, knitwear designer, but in between those two, and there was a brief time where I worked for a yarn company, but in between that, I worked in retail in yarn stores, 2 different yarn stores for 7 years. It's the yarn stores that you really get the, oh my God, you're my dream job. You sit around and knit all day. And anyone that works in a yarn store knows it's brutally hard work. It's back-breakingly hard work. And you never knit a stitch.
And it's emotionally hard work as well, because you're like, they are the frontline workers of the knitting world. There's so much in it, that you are also a therapist, and you are a listener, and you are a sitting duck. You can't go anywhere, so you have to sit there for 6.5 hours while somebody tells you something, and you're like, oh God, that person came in again this week. What do I do? Right?
So back when there was a TNNA, our trade organization, I also taught business classes. And once I was teaching a business class called how to run your events like a Broadway stage manager. And my opening, it was explaining the title was that we all have jobs, that we all came from other jobs, and how to bring the skills that you had from that previous career to the table. And so I usually would start with everyone saying what they did. And, you know, there were some like people from, you know, there were lawyers and doctors, and there were people that, you know, did all sorts of things. And, you know, sometimes there would be accountant, and people would be like, oh, that's, you know, that's translatable. And once someone said, there were 40 people in the class. Someone said, well, I was a therapist, and 39 people went, oh, they were like, you know, and I have to explain to the new people, the people that just went into retail, that people come to knitting in crisis often. So often someone will say to you, oh, you'll find knitting relaxing. So if buying a pair of jeans was something that often people came to in crisis, like your husband just died and someone said, you know what's good, go and buy a pair of jeans, then working at Gap would immediately have that you know, but that's why, because people come to knitting in crisis.
Yeah.
So,
and you have also, do we go there kind of to make a gendered statement? You often have women who are knitting and who bring, I speak from experience, like bring all of their own issues into their knitting. And so it's not just that I can't get the gauge on this, it's that this means I'm a horrible human being and I always have been, and I can't do anything right, and I'm a failure, and why are you looking at me? You think I'm a failure. But yeah. You get to unwind that too, right?
Do you remember a show called a Say Yes to the Dress? It was a reality show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I used to work in a yarn store, and I would have my manager do the interviews, and I would sit and keep my mouth shut when we're interviewing a new staff member, because my manager needed to like the person, and because she was the one on the floor. So she would always ask the same question. Did you have an experience in retail where maybe you had to say no to someone or explain a policy and they were upset? And then how did you resolve that? And the guy that we're interviewing said, are you familiar with a show called Say Yes to the Dress? And my friend Michelle was a huge reality TV fan. She was like, oh, yes. And he said, well, I worked in the final fitting room of the bridal salon where that was filmed. So brides either lose weight or gain weight out of stress, and we're on a schedule, and we know that the quote final fitting is not going to work. We know that, and we have time to fix it, but they don't know that. And they're having a meltdown, but we have another bride that has to come in. And so we need to keep it moving. So to them, it's the worst thing that ever happened to them. It's the end of their lives. But for us, we got to keep the schedule moving. And Michelle said, so that's a really good story. And she said, here it's different. It's similar, but it's different. She said, here we're selling yarn. It's not a bridal dress. It's a garter stitch scarf. If they make a mistake, it's certainly not the most important thing in their lives. And it's not the end of the world. It's similar because they act like it is.
And you're hired. Oh,
Yeah, he was good. We actually did offer him the job, and he had 2 other job offers because he was like a full-time hardcore retail person. He was pretty sought after.
Good for him.
Okay, I'm scrolling back. Oh my God, there's so many.
Hi, people. I'm sorry. I feel bad that I'm not seeing the comments. Maybe
No, that's okay. I'm scrolling back, seeing. And the other nice thing is people start to chat amongst themselves, which I like.
Good.
Clara, I love the ride on the cargo ship and the window swap.
Oh, yay.
Wait, is window swap meaning that website?
Are you wondering what that person is referring to? Yeah.
Well, window swap, I know that, but what's the ride on the cargo ship?
Well, if you subscribe to my daily email called the Daily Respite.
I do, but I got really behind.
Oh, so oh man.
You're my third daily email.
I know. That was my problem. You name it the Daily Respite, and then it's daily, and people are like, "Stop it! You send me so many emails." Well, it's called the Daily Respite.
I know. I also do a news one, and so that I feel, then I have daily, and so anyway. So I let yours pile up because it's more like the arts feature that I can get to anytime. Sorry.
Yeah. No. People, are you going to let her off the hook? No. That one, it's wonderful. It's a guy who was on a cargo ship for 30 days, and it's a time lapse video, and he's like going through Shanghai, he's going through the Strait of Hormuz, like all these incredible and at least night skies and stars coming over and clouds coming over and the little boats zooming by. It's really cool. And then he's suddenly like, oh, and here we are back in Shanghai. Zoop, plunk, 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 and all these trains come down, dropping trains, and then zoop, out we go, back out. It's really, really cool. 30 days and I think like 10 minutes.
And did he post it on that website, Window Swap?
No, this is a different thing. This is just a
because I'm obsessed with Window Swap.
Isn't that wonderful?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Have you shared your window yet?
No, but I'm gonna fit. So we actually, it's funny you should mention it because I actually have my tripod ready because I'm gonna do it today because the hummingbirds get really active in the feeder in the ish of like 5. So I thought I'd set it up around that time in the balcony that's off the bedroom in that way. It's a window. So it's kind of it is a window. And to try to get some of the hummingbirds. Have you done it?
I haven't done it yet. Same thing. I've meant to, but I haven't really. I'm waiting for like a day when things are cool and clouds are moving and leaves are blowing and that kind of thing.
Have you gotten to the window? The window. It's I mean, probably not. There's like a million of them, but there's a balcony in India with all these adorable dogs that are just and the one that walks up, walks up to the camera, his little nose is like.
Is he a beagle?
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, and he's like totally clueless of why he shouldn't be walking up to the camera. He's just like.
Crafty Erin says that she absolutely loves you. Absolutely love you, Clara.
Thank you. I love
Clara,
you.
Love your Jan says love your virtual Vogue lecture.
Oh, thank you.
That was nice. Whoops. Oh my God, it just jumped. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up. So question. Eileen has a question. I'm loving Clara's daily respite. What additional content does Clara do with this is what happens when I try to do this without readers. What additional content does Clara do with subscribers? So the thing with the daily respite right now, I'm providing it for free because we're in crisis, and I think it would be rude. However, we're also in crisis. All of my work got canceled for the year, so it's technically $6 a month. And then, well, you feel like, well, I should give some, That's a little low, honey.
No,
in my humble opinion.
So, okay, I'll make it $600 a month. Yeah, it's just and so then you get the thing of like, what do I get for that $6 that I don't, and I like, you're already getting something for free every day, and I don't want to overwhelm you. So one thing that we do that's turned into really kind of a lovely thing for those who need it is a Friday afternoon check-in. And we just, from 2 to 3, everybody can come. There's a subscribers only chat kind of area. And we all just, usually I bring a question, like, what was the high point of your week? What's the low point?
Oh.
And people just give each other support. Somebody who got laid off a couple of weeks ago had an interview for an even better job, and we're all there to cheer her along. So it's, that's really, really quite sweet. So, and
Not
then
sure
other
why
things.
that made me a little misty.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Come on over.
That's
Oh.
just a really great idea.
It's, people are, well, we need it. Or it just, it's also helpful to kind of realize you're not alone, right? Because
Really
people,
great.
like, how are you doing? And somebody says something that puts words to exactly what you were feeling, and you didn't realize that other people are feeling that way too. And then other people chime in, and just, we're cheering each other on. So, yeah.
I love that. Oh, I love that. Oh, Bridget says, hi from Germany. I'm late. You're never late.
Hi, Bridget, you're not late.
You're always on time when you arrive.
We're early.
Oh, wait. Oh, I just saw a comment about working in a yarn store. Yeah, here it is. Alana worked in the yarn store for 9 years, did almost no knitting. Yeah, for real. That's a real thing. So I taught on Monday Secrets of Yarn Substitution, and I talked about you, which I always do in that class, because it's one of the things that I mean, obvs, like who's teaching yarn substitution and not mentioning you? Nobody. So obviously I always, explain what Knitter's Book of Yarn is. And I always do this spiel where I'm like, read it like a storybook at bed. That's what I do. I say, Clara, tell me about merino. What's a cormo? What's cashmere?
It's silk night. Oh, I can't. That's good. Yeah, they're like little chocolates that you're supposed to. You can just nibble.
But then so we had a Q&A afterwards, and the last slide of the presentation says, like, and it sums up a bunch of things, my whole, like, how much, how big, what is it, and how do I find out all this information? And then in giant letters it just says swatch. And I do this whole thing about how we swatch backwards, that when my grandmother was knitting, she didn't pick out a pattern first and then pick yarn. She had yarn, she would play with it, she'd swatch with it, she'd figure, like, we didn't call it swatching. I don't even think she'd ever heard of that word. Mm-hmm. She was like testing out the yarn, and she would tug at it and be, oh, that's a good one for a cardigan. That'll the button band. I hate a button band that stretches out.
Yeah, she was engineering fabric.
Yeah, so she, so I did this whole thing about how we swatch backwards. We used to, like, swatch to see what that yarn wanted to be when it grows up. And then I tell the thing where you would, like, shove swatches places. For those of you out there in the viewing public, Clara, where do you shove a swatch?
Well, you would see, you put things places that are very sensitive, but the key point is, remember that, so that halfway through the day, if you're testing 2 yarns and then you have to quick run out to the post office, ta-da! Oh, well, that one fell, so that's good. But yeah, and I know that it seems like it's overly simplistic, but you really can tell the degree of prickle that you've got going on in a very quick period of time by doing that. So, and it also informs you as to how that fiber is dealing with moisture, which is something we never ever talk about, but the human body is made of a lot of water, and the average human body sweats a lot.
Listen, let's just admit it. We're moist. Yeah. As people.
Yeah. I can't remember I used to know the numbers. Each foot can release 8 ounces of moisture a day. I want to say it was 32 or 64 ounces total.
What?
Depending on your metabolism, your body releases it. It evaporates off your back, your palms, and the bottoms of your feet are big outlets for moisture.
Yeah.
Some people just naturally are, they their AC system releases more moisture, but it's something we never really think about when we pick a yarn. You don't think, well, how is this fiber going to react to moisture? Is it going to provide evaporative cooling? Is it going to absorb it and keep me warm? Like, I'm going skiing in Norway. This cotton sweater might not be such a good idea. So anyway, that's another reason to stick stuff down your shirt.
Well, and so the woman asked, after I do this whole thing about swatching, and then she said, well, I knit a whole sweater out of merino and it pilled. And how would I know that it's going to pill? And I'm like, how would you know? And I put the swatch slide back up again. And she's like, but I did. I made a gauge swatch. I said, okay, I didn't say gauge swatch, right? Did you make a 4x4 thing and then leave it flat on the table and measure it? You know. So do you get asked that question all the time about which yarns aren't going to pill? I get asked that all the time, and I'm not Clara Parks, so I'm imagining you get it asked a fairly.
I do. It's a little hard because softness pills, like period.
Fiber gods give with one hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can study the twist and ply composition to figure out how much twist is in the individual. How many plies are there? How tightly are they twisted? How tightly are they twisted together? All right, that's a lot of energy holding these together. Let me think, it's merino, so that's gonna have shorter fibers, so it's gonna need more energy holding each fiber together versus it's alpaca. Okay, I can let loose a little bit on the twist because it doesn't need as much because it's a longer, like you can study the yarn that way, but ultimately, yeah, if you knit a sweater out of merino and you want it to last, yeah, destroy your swatch. And I don't know if you would agree with this, but use the label for compost. Like, it's completely useless. Knit until you have a fabric that you like, and it's always tighter than what is listed on the ball band, always.
Everybody that's ever taken my video sweater classes knows that I always say, who cares what gauge I got? You're going to knit till you get a fabric you like. I'll help you understand the little math. It's not that big deal. But someone also asked that last night. Oh no, that was in my talk with Kate. This was last week. Someone said the ball bands changed. The manufacturers used to commit to one gauge, and now it's a range, and that's a change not for the better. And I disagreed, and I said it's actually a change for the better. Because
truth in advertising.
Yeah, because if you have a softly spun rope ply yarn with a lot of loft and bounce, and you can or a chainette, and you can knit that on a US 6 and compress the air out of it, you're going to get this gauge. Leave it light and lofty, you're going to get this gauge. But then I also said, don't you find that sometimes, and see, you're Clara, so you could probably do this. I don't feel like I could. Do you ever feel like writing to a yarn manufacturer and saying, dude, what's with the gauge on the ball band? It's who came up with that?
No, I've been, the story that people who've taken my classes, they've heard. I was in consulting with a yarn company about a new yarn. It was a beautiful mohair sock base. It's no longer, the company's gone, the base is gone, everything. It was really cool. It was like 15 or 20% mohair instead of nylon, which adds strength, but also gives luster and all that beautiful stuff. And I was studying the yarn like, wow, this is gorgeous. And the design person said, so it knits up at 8 stitches per inch. And the marketing person said, we can't sell a yarn at 8 stitches per inch. Can we put 7? Sure, okay. Like, that's how the decision, so I feel like it's futile. I would rather teach people how to fish so that you never ever need to, like, those numbers.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They are Photoshopped Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition covers. Like, those numbers do not exist anyway. So just use it as compost.
Yeah, because it is rough. For Tortola, like this is a beautiful chainette construction. And yes, I did compress the air out of it a bit because I wanted to float away from your hips and still have, still be light and lofty because it's, got air in the middle of it. But even had I not, that yarn is not knitting up at 20 stitches per 4 inch and being, as Amy Herzog would say, a sweater fabric that you can't stick your finger through.
Yeah, your thumb would just go straight out.
Yes, some of these yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just let go and let God is what you're saying. Just,
Well, I just,
who cares what a piece of paper says?
getting them to change, like, I just assume, all right, you already have thousands of labels out. So if I can just get people, like, educate the consumer to know better, that will just sort of shame you out of business. I don't know.
And I also, by the way, crafty Aaron, lying liar who lies. You didn't need to explain that. I knew what you were talking about. Then the next comment is not you guys. No, because I talk about, the lying liar who lies. But I
Maybe
also,
we are.
I also told one industry secret from my yarn company days, which is a yarn that had been around for many years and therefore had tons of pattern support, right? That mill closed. Another mill was now manufacturing it. Its twist wasn't the same. It didn't knit up to the same gauge, but the ball band has to say that old gauge because there's so many, that was interesting, so many patterns written for it. I just feel it sometimes when it goes. Lady of Spain. Sorry.
I'm wearing long sleeves.
I told you we're casual here. Do you have access to the what? Do you have access to the pattern or plans for the wool casket? I enjoyed your talk at Plyaway. What did I miss?
Oh my God! You can buy a wool coffin for $1,200. I think it's 1,200 or 2,000. My numbers are now going. I think it's $1,200. Completely biodegradable.
My people do pine boxes.
Oh, well, you can do, they also have urns. Yeah, Google wool caskets. It's a company in the UK. They're beautiful. It's a very, very thick felt. So it's not something that, oh, that would be good. You're on it. Well, we don't knit on airplanes anymore, but you're somewhere out in public like, oh, what are you knitting? My casket? My shroud. That would be, I guess you could say my shroud.
Oh, I got a little note. July 18th and 19th apparently is the
knit yourself a casket days.
No, the emails that I should make sure to check. Okay. So there, did the daily respite. Yeah, the Jewish people, we're like a plain pine box because we're a cotton thing and a plain pine box because we're supposed to get back in there ASAP, right?
ASAP. Well, wool would biodegrade even faster, I bet.
Yeah, I think wool would be kosher. Not the only non-kosher one is what is the non-kosher wool? A wool linen blend is not is
oh, Lindsay Woolsey
is verboten.
No.
I think it's wool linen. There's one in the Torah that's not that, I mean, I'm not religious, but I always thought that was funny. There's one blend that's a no-no. But for real, that's a blend that Lion Brand Yarn would never do because it's a Jewish company.
The connection of fiber and religion, which I'm just starting to go into in my research, it's so cool. It's so cool. It is so cool. Every religion has some kind of a textile / fiber. It has traditions. It has rituals. It's fun. Yeah.
Oh, so wait, you're researching it for something on paper with words?
Yeah, but well, yeah, I get superstitious about everything, but yeah,
That
something
sounds interesting
that could maybe appear in 2 years if we're even still here.
Carson was on the YouTube and he made a mistake. He said out loud something about the next book, and I said, the what? And he was like, oh. I said, were you not supposed to say that? And he's like, no.
But he self-publishes, or is it with somebody else?
I don't know. I think it might be a publisher. Oh yeah, we did get confirmation. It's wool linen. Yeah, wool linen for some reason.
I have to find out why.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember that one. Like I remember a lot of the crazy stuff. Now I'm going to get in trouble. Not crazy, just interesting, quirky, like the cricket thing is kosher, but the other bugs aren't, but I can't remember. But yeah, wool linen. But for real, that's why there'll never be a line brand wool linen blend. Not that the current owners are religious, but their grandfathers and great grandfathers were.
Yeah.
So it's just
totally cool.
In respect out of them.
Love it. It's just like, you never need to be bored in this field.
Oh my God.
Okay, what?
My thing, my battery's dying. Oh, I forgot to plug in. Talk amongst yourselves. Hold on, I'm plugging in. Oh, I'm so professional.
I feel like, should I do shadow puppets? I'll do.
No, I just plugged in.
Hi, my name's Patty. Hi, I'm Clara. Hi, what's your favorite yarn? Don't ask me that question. I told you not. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I plugged the computer in, but I didn't plug into the computer, but I didn't plug the brick into the. It's all very interesting.
Oh,
it's all. This is so interesting, isn't it?
That's something you need to do.
I'm very professional. But I wanted to say, okay, so I wanted to ask you about the in your bra thing, the which I love, the swatching. But then I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go down the whole road of last week again. But I just wanted to ask you one thing, because the whole discussion of designers doing everything in 4 different yarns, I've formulated my thoughts more and more. So I'm just gonna like tell you one of the new thoughts since last week. So no, this isn't a repeater. I always look over there, like at the comments. But
they're all sitting over there.
Yeah. I realized more and more, this must, as someone who loves playing with yarn, I wondered if this also bothered you. I had a whole back and forth with this woman on Instagram, and she was saying, I just like, then you just need to describe the yarn and why you chose it. And I said, well, to be honest, like, we don't always choose it. Sometimes it's the magazine publisher. But here's the other thing. Sometimes a 4-ply wool is a 4-ply wool is a 4-ply wool, and it's fakey schmakey. Well, this wool is like, sometimes the reason I chose it is frankly the art of the dyer, right? It's the colorway. It's not. But the other thing is this, and this hadn't fully formed in my brain last week. Mm-hmm. With very few exceptions, there's no design I've ever made that can only be or should only be knit in this type of yarn. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's what's bothering me about the whole conversation the most, is that, like someone said, the designers are being gatekeepers of information by not telling us 4 or 5 different types of yarn. To me, I'm being the gatekeeper of information by telling you, knit it out of these 4 yarns, versus you deciding what yarn you want to use. That's like the joy of, I don't know. Am I making any sense at all?
No, you totally are. Yeah, we had that discussion in my house. Claire does not knit. Secret of a happy relationship. Partner with somebody who doesn't. But she was like, she got me off my high horse of reminding me people are busy sometimes. They just, like, the rest of your life can be really challenging and difficult, and you don't, where you are right now in your life, the idea of needing to add that information to your brain to learn one more thing when you're just trying to escape for the day, could you just help me out and just give me a name, just give me a couple names. So I feel like if there can be a blend, okay, maybe it's 2 yarns. And then even just not saying like this sweater can only be knit in this kind of yarn, but even if it's just this sweater was knit in a 4-ply worsted weight wool, which contributed the following behavior to the fabric that you see.
Right, which most designers do. We describe the there's the thing, the yardage, the grams, the fiber, and then if there's something special about it, I'll describe it. But
so, and I think people are getting, I would say better, but that's happening more. People, like 20 years ago, there was no discussion of like, I had to like zoom in on pictures to figure out, is that 2 plies or 3 plies? Ooh, what do you think? So, but I think just a few words of if you kind of know where your knitters tend to go, you can say if you like more sheen and a little bit of slink without sacrificing bounce, you could add, go to a blend that has 20% silk, but beyond that, it could get too dense. But
I mean, with setting aside the yarn support issue and being disrespectful to the companies that knit the garment out of, that's a whole other topic. Where without their permission, and I said this last week, I knit a sweater out of North Light Fibers, which how I feel. That's a stunning yarn, perfectly balanced, like unbelievable, micro mill, and you're very familiar with that yarn. And I then decided to do the sweater as a knit along, and I asked Sven and Laura's permission. I said, do you mind if I suggest a lower priced alternative? Because now I'm doing it as a knit along. And they're like, of course, go and God bless, right? But anyway.
That is, and that's the part that a lot of people don't know. I had no idea until I guest edited Knit Scene years ago. I thought that everybody just picked the yarn the same one. Like, no idea. Designers are totally hamstrung. So we need to feature these companies because they pay the bills. Right. So we have to find a yarn in their lineup that could possibly do this design. And that's where I just get kind of, I do a little bit of just like sneaky guerrilla. You just describe the yarn that you're using that was provided by this yarn company, and we're very grateful for it. And these are the qualities that, period.
Except for one element, which is that's not the only type of yarn. And that's where like this woman was stuck on this one sweater that I did with Twist Collective, and I didn't choose the yarn. So she's like, I just want you to know, I want to replicate what you made. And I said, well, honestly, if you want to replicate it, then pick something with the same density, fiber content, blah, 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 blah. But I'll be honest with you, I didn't pick the yarn. Might I have picked it if I knit it myself? Yeah, it's a lovely yarn. Is it the only type of yarn that could be used and have it still be lovely? No. Could that have been knit out of a wool cotton blend? Yeah, that stitch would have been good. A wool silk? A wool alpaca? Yippers. So even, I don't know, that's where I get, there's such a world of yarn out there, even by describing. I feel like what I'm saying to people then is these qualities are the qualities you must match in order to make a beautiful garment. And that's just not how I feel.
It's more, this is what I used for what you see in this picture.
Exactly.
And like, this is how the qualities of that yarn translate to what you see in this picture. And if you're beholden to a yarn company, it's true, that's as far as you ethically can go. And I do think that we all have our, I want to, like, knitting is a passion of a lifetime. And I feel like we all have our journey of learning and having aha moments and figuring stuff out. And that somebody now who's like, I love that sweater, I've been there. Like, I love that sweater. No, I want exactly that. 5 years from now, they will have built up the confidence and they will have enough miles through their fingers of yarn to start going off road. And that's when, like, so it's never an end point with somebody. It's just where they are on their journey. You don't believe me?
Well,
you've worked in yarn stores.
It's just that wasn't my experience as a new knitter. My experience was just the opposite, that if I went off road from the beginning because no one told me I shouldn't. And so I made a lot of yarn mistakes, and that's how I learned about yarn. And I thought that was a beautiful thing. Like, you just jump in and try things. It just never occurred to me that I had to find the yarn in the pattern. I was just like, oh, I'll go to Smiley's and Queens, and it's a discount store, and so I don't know, to me, not knowing what you're not supposed to know is really helpful in learning.
Oh yeah, like the person whose first project was an Alice Darmore sweater. I remember that from years ago. Sometimes that's a really good thing.
I had a
But don't,
knitter who took beginning knitting from me when I was managing a store. And you just learn knit, purl, cast on, bind, off. Don't the increases are in the advanced, increases, decreases, or advanced knitting, advanced beginner. And he said, I want to knit one project between beginner and advanced beginner. And I was like, yeah, I think that's a great idea to practice. And he said, so what pattern should I look for? And I said, you know what? Just look for something with knits and purls without increases or decreases. And he said, okay, his name is Austin. I'll never forget him. And he came back and he said, okay, I found one. This is totally straight, no increases or decreases. Yes, it was. Fair Isle vest with steeped armholes. No increase. And I'm like, let's do this thing.
yeah, because you don't want to say, are you crazy? Or like, you don't want to interrupt that. Yeah. Hey,
and he did a totally great job.
But that's just like, we all have different levels of confidence, I think. Like your personality is such that you would just be like, fine, I'll go with it. And I know other personalities, that there's just, I know people who follow food recipes. Like, did it say a quarter teaspoon of salt? Oh, is that a quarter teaspoon? Versus, I'm just throwing stuff in there.
Right. Like a whisper of this.
Yes.
Add a hint of this.
Mm-hmm.
Until
Leave the garlic.
Yes. Until it gives off the image of something salty, and then stop.
When it evokes a memory of your childhood, then stop. Yeah.
It's so true. But I think with confidence, and I think this comes from my mother, who gave me, she would give each one of us, when my sister and I, when we each turned 16, a necklace that had a quote on it. And the quote that she gave my sister, not carved, engraved into the back of her
chiseled.
Was the Eleanor Roosevelt quote, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. And I think the other thing, the other conversation that the other part of this element that sort of has come to me recently is people saying that it all has to do with money. And the reason that designers should name 4 or 5 different yarns of different price points is they're made to feel bad by other knitters or inferior by their guild or their yarn shop because they're using, a yarn that they can afford. And I feel like then find another guild, find another yarn store, find another group of knitters. These are not people that are worthy of you.
It's a far larger, more pervasive cultural phenomenon that we're fighting against.
Yeah, and I totally get it, being the girl who only wore the hand-me-downs in the rich suburb. I grew up in a rich suburb where everyone had maids and gardeners and bought new school clothes twice a year. And we bought new clothes only when we grew out of both your own and then my older sisters. And, we did our own, we didn't have a maid, so I get it. But I guess I just never cared what other people thought.
Well, or it's true that just tells you that these people are not worthy. You're wasting your spirit on them. Like, no, find people who leave you feeling full. But I know it's hard because, especially with the internet, I don't know with the internet, but social media has really, really created the potential for cool kids pockets.
That's all the visual,
It's just by default, we're trained to aspire to that while feeling that we'll never reach it. Just like culturally, it's all of that garbage that gets funneled. But I repel against that. I just always, like, I don't, although I did have guest jeans in high school. I just want to say.
Well, you're fancy.
They were different guest jeans. We went to Phoenix and I got a pair that were like cargo pants because nobody else had them, because I knew I couldn't compete with them on their guest genealogy, I had to like wear a different kind. So I just revealed a part of my personality.
We were strictly a Levi's family. Like even Lee jeans seemed
Oh.
fancy, right? Because Levi's were like and you bought them and they were this is when my first experience of blocking, FYI. You bought them and they were hard as a rock, right? And then you would wash them and you put them on still damp to wear them to blocking, people, right? To mold them to your little, oh my God.
They're so removed from textiles. It's shameful.
There are so many comments. I'm going to have to catch up. But oh my gosh. Oh, everyone. Oh, many people are just basically saying how much they love you.
Here, I'll reveal, while you're scrolling, I'll reveal a pandemic purchases. So the joke in the household, like the first month when we were locked down, I was in a total panic. And every time I had a craving, it was like, oh my God, I could go my whole life without ever going to the grocery store again. I have to. So one of them was, I got like an industrial restaurant supply quantity of 2 packs of Biscoff cookies.
Hey, aren't those the cookies that you get on Delta?
I wouldn't know. I was a United flyer. Of course, I'll never be flying again. I know.
You were on the puppy killing airline?
They didn't deserve.
Oh,
but
sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off.
Yeah, but once, like, you know, I had enough miles that I was just, yeah. Well, we're not going anywhere anymore now.
I know. Have you checked your the amount of credits you have?
No, well, mine don't expire, I hope. My miles, you mean?
Or no, for canceled flights.
Oh, we talked about that this morning out on the porch. And Claire tried to talk me down, just like, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, that amount of money that you know is going to go away because you won't be flying anywhere for the next, I had just bought my tickets to DFW and Montreal.
Oh yeah, I had well, there were 19 gigs canceled, but not all 19 I had booked flights for, but 19 so far, we're still counting. But there was there was a lot. But anyway, so the only other thing I was going to tell you, I love those cookies.
It's our little secret now. I finally did go back to the grocery store last week, and I saw in the aisle, and I was like, oh, no, you have 5,000 at home. But they're here. I should get another pack just in case. Welcome to our life. We call it my general store in the barn. I have a whole corner in my studio space. It's just beans.
Oh wait, did you do the bean thing? Were you one of the bean people?
Well, we already were bean people because we love beans, and so I did the beans. But I'm also a bread.
What to do with them?
I knew what to do with them, and I'm also a bread person, but not sourdough, regular bread. And there was no dough, no flour, but I managed to find a source of flour from Italy. But you could only get it in like these 10-pound containers, this exquisite whole wheat Tuminia wheat from this little village where some man does blah, 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 blah. I just have to, like, if anybody else went crazy during this period of time, just know you're not the only one. And I have enough flour now.
David was like the opposite. My husband didn't want, he was so, he was so overly concerned with being accused of hoarding. Like if we went to the grocery store, that like there would be a 12 pack of toilet paper, like, but there was packaged as a 12 pack. We can break it up. And he'd be like, we don't need that much. We'll just get 2 rolls. I'm like, but it's packed in a. But then
that would have,
But then when our local store got to the point where they were like, you know what, we're only buying the 12 packs. Then he's like, all right, we'll get a 12 pack.
See, you went to grocery stores. I went 3 months without setting foot in a grocery store. That's called issues.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love that. He works for the food. I always have to slow down to say co-op because he calls it the food coop. And so I always have to remember, like, food coop doesn't mean anything to anyone.
Yeah.
And he was still working at the food co-op. It's the same one that Brandy, I don't know if you know Brandy Harper, she's another knitting instructor. It's the same one that she works at. And
Oh, cool.
he's a cashier trainer. She works there, like a real work. And he was still doing cashier training at the beginning of the pandemic. And I didn't love that. I didn't love that because it was before we knew anything, and there was no masks, and there was no gloves, and there was no social distancing yet. And it was like early March. And finally I said, could you not do that anymore? And then they stopped all volunteer shifts. So then up here, and then we're up here, we're upstate right now. And the stores here they're really good from the beginning, like about limiting how many people came in and the one-way aisles, and people were pretty good about masks and everything. So I don't know.
I don't know. We, the benefit of living in a town of 900 people, I could call the market, say, hi, it's Clara. What's your milk situation today? Okay, can I have a gallon of milk? What ice cream do you have? Okay, I'll be there at 12:30. And then I go and there's a bag on the porch that says my name. And I pick it up and yeah. But I mean, it's a tiny market, so you're restricted to what they have. And then we have a wine and cheese shop in Blue Hill where you email them, and we've become pen pals. I'll be like, that Swiss whatever that you had last week was so delicious. What pasta would go with that? And blah, 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 blah. And then I show up and they've filled the box and I hand them my credit card. A lot of reason has gone out the window with the whole panic thing. And I go home to see, like, what did they give me? Oh, this is so much fun. Oh, mozzarella. Oh, we've got, like, somebody's making frozen chicken pot pies. How cool is that? There are good things about this area. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, my head's just like, I'm just like, if the idea that someone would pack me up just like a box of surprise cheese is the single greatest thing I could imagine in my life.
They also do wine.
I like yarn. I do like yarn very much.
You can't eat it. Cheese you can eat.
But I don't know if I was on a desert island and I could choose between yarn and cheese, what the situation would be. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. It'd be a tough call.
I'm trying to figure out how you could use yarn to hack it to make cheese without them knowing. If they send you to an island that has sheep, which they don't know about, you could use the yarn to somehow, like, felt buckets to ferment. Somehow, I'm just thinking.
Speaking of wool hacks, that wool gardening hack of the. So here's my only issue, because I wanted to try that, but I have a lot of roving up here, and this is completely illogical. In my mind's eye, I will begin spinning again.
Of course. Yeah.
And so I feel like, oh, should I use the roving? I don't know. I bought it for spinning, but that was so brilliant. Are you still doing that?
I totally am still doing it. We have the Dahlia experiment in front of the house.
Explain what it is in case there's like two people here that don't know who you are, which is not really possible, but
Well, what would you say? During extreme heat periods of time, if you're trying to garden, you need to figure out how to trap moisture and provide nutrients into your soil. And so I was planting some pots and thinking, how am I going to do that this year? Because I've decided I'm going to be the lady who grows dahlias. So I have them in pots. And like, well, these are going to be dry. Like, I'm going to have to water them twice a day. And so that's when I remembered, wait a minute, wool is full of nitrogen. It absorbs moisture, biodegrades naturally. As it expands in the dirt, it aerates the soil, kind of like earthworms do. So I started putting wool inside the pot, like intermixing, and then putting layers of it around the top. And I have, on one side, I have the wool dahlias, and on the other side, I don't. And the don't one, I have to water twice a day. And the wool dahlias, it's about every 2 days that I water.
Oh, you know what? I actually missed a step in that. I didn't realize, I thought you used it on top.
Oh no, I also oh darn it, I don't have them. You can also, well, you could put it, I put like a very thin layer in the dirt and layered it like lasagna. But if you Google wool pellets, there is a company in Utah that's taking, what would you say, skirting waste, so like bellies and tags and manure rich like bits of wool, and running them through a pelletized machine. And so you have these cute little pellets that you can just sprinkle in the pot when you're planting your stuff. And they've done studies with tomatoes, and I think they've determined 35% less watering with those in there because they hold the moisture and they're full of nitrogen.
Now I'm thinking,
Anyway.
I'm thinking of a friend of mine. How would you feel? Would llama and alpaca be similar?
Yep, protein fibers, they would do it.
I'm gonna talk to Tabitha of Long Island Yarn and Farm.
Oh,
because
yeah.
she wanted to use every bit of everything, and that's how she came up with her skincare line, right? Where she does the lanolin-based creams and the lippy, and
if she could, I wish somebody would do a wool felt, like a fine wool felt that you can just roll out and like, how would you do that? So that you can, instead of like we have in one bed, we're trying to grow okra, which is dumb because it's too cold here in Maine. So we have this red plastic over the whole bed to heat up the soil, and then we just pop holes where we plant.
right.
So if you had felt, because it's also a weed suppressant, and then you poked holes where you wanted to plant.
Man. Right. Well, so if you had a drum carder that was wide enough, could you make a nice, could you do that? I've never done a drum carder, so I don't really know.
I have a drum carder.
Did that work?
It's from, yeah, I mean, it's the one that I have isn't wide enough, but a commercial one. Oh, if you just took the wool, anybody who has a commercial wool card, hear me out, the kind of the big, what do they call that? Oh, I'm forgetting the names of everything, but the kind that has the camel transfer system in the middle where it gathers up this veil and mixes it up, and then it lays it perpendicular for the second. If you just gathered that mesh, that would be perfect. It's like a diaphanous sheet of wool that's been basically carded together.
So Sven and Laura would have that, right? At North Life Fiber? They would have
that. I think it's a 2-breaker woolen card system.
Oh, you're so fancy. You know all the things.
But that would be
smarty.
Huh? Oh,
you're very smart. Now, Allison says that she uses her spinning waste for doll stuffing, and Mary says I use my spinning waste for in the garden as mulch. So apparently, you're not the only one who thought about it. Although Virginia said yarn gardening, who knew?
Yeah. What do you think? Wool grows on tree? Oh wait, no, it grows under tree.
In the UK, wool, what can't it do?
Yeah, that would be our new motto. If you live in the UK, you can get bags of wool compost. Actual. Yeah.
Maybe wool, what can't it do might be the name of a book. I'm just
saying. Yeah, I tried to bring the message to a broader audience, and I was told by the gatekeepers that it's just too narrow of a subject, not interesting enough. But pimple popping, that deserves its own show.
I know, but you know what's so interesting? Don't you find that so often what is niche or not a broad enough topic one day, and then you don't do it, and then you miss the mark, and then a conversation explodes in the internet, and you're like, ugh.
Well, and I've discovered that the gatekeepers, how they operate is they're never willing to be the first people to do it. They'll only do it after it explodes. They're not willing to take a risk. And so then you have to decide, well, am I willing to take the risk because I believe in this? And then a pandemic happens.
Yeah, no, I know, it's true. I mean, I was thinking of, there's so many shows just recently, just with, with all of our awareness and everything that's happening in the world. There's so many TV shows and podcasts that were canceled a year or 2 years ago that I thought, oh, well, they were like insanely ahead of their time.
Mm.
They would have been the most popular. So
Yeah.
you have to find someone who's gonna we'll talk to Kim Kardashian and see if she can. Oh, just kidding.
They have a sheep farm.
What?
About like 8,000 sheep out there, yeah, in Montana.
I was just being a smart ass.
No. Yeah.
Oh my Lord, have mercy. Oh my God. All right, it's already 3:30. I do this all the time. Okay, so I cannot keep this brilliant woman any longer. So I'm gonna.
Oh, I have so many places to go.
And see if anyone asked anything. Oh, in Madrid, we're not going to the grocery store. Oh, I'm sorry, Kathleen.
Oh, hi Madrid, I feel you.
Anita says, fine to design with great and expensive yarns. Give us the facts and don't force us to buy the yarn to get the pattern. I don't think most of us are doing that though. So yeah, there might be some kits out there, but normally, Anita, if you see a kit that's available as a kit only, where you have to buy the yarn and the pattern, just wait a little bit. Very often the kit is like released first. Because like I know Amy Herzog had like sweater boxes, like I did that with Jetson. This was released as a kit for a couple of weeks. And then after the yarn orders were done, then the patterns just released as a general download.
And you can use whatever you want.
Alana said, I had tickets for Clara's keynote at MLT. I guess it's something that was canceled because she says someday.
Oh, Montreal. Was it in Montreal? Or I'm sorry.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel like, and then don't you feel like, oh, we've disappointed people? And then you have to realize, like, wait, I did not cause the pandemic.
Yeah, I know.
But that's why we're doing these. So anything before we sign off that you want to, I don't know, just say to the nice people, or anything you want to share, thoughts? Here, by the way, I had one when you were talking about palm sweating.
Yeah.
Earlier. This is why before there was a pandemic, this is the reason I had about 1 million of these. These are Delta first class hand sanitizers because I fly so much. Because when you film a lot and you're under these hot lights, which I am right now, I'm under incredibly hot filming lights, these big ginormous lights, little alcohol-based hand sanitizer will dry the palms of your hands quickly enough that the yarn can still flow through your hands when you're under these filming lights. Fun fact.
Wow.
That's why I had about 20 of these tiny bottles.
How convenient.
So now that you can't light your fire at night, do you have any other like nightly ritual that gives you the happies?
Our nightly ritual is we sit out on the porch. We have about, I don't even know how many chipmunks. They're all named Patrick because it's easier that way. So, and they come out and they fight with each other, and one comes up and talks to us and we're like, hey Patrick, how you doing? And then one of us has to go out after counting the number of mosquitoes on the screen. It's usually Claire because she doesn't get bit as much as I do. Goes out and grabs the bird feeder so that the bear doesn't get it. And then we come back inside. And if we're lucky, like, oh my God, we made it to 9 o'clock. Yay, bath time. We get to go meet and go to bed.
Wait, you're able to have a bird? We cannot have bird feeders except for winter up here because the bears.
Even during the day they come?
The day is when the bears are all over the place.
Wow.
We love our bears. They're you know how there's that app Nextdoor?
Yeah.
So Nextdoor in a city, like I have Nextdoor on my phone for Park Slope, Brooklyn, and for, Saugerties. And it's hilarious because the city is all like, does anyone have a plumber recommendation? Or, it's like 24/7 bear reports. And not like we're scared.
Yeah.
but it's such a special delight. So, oh no, we had a bird feeder, just a little one, just like one of those sacks that's like with the seeds. So it's like a, and it hung from the tree. 11 in the morning, up on the hind legs, pulls it down, then just sits in the woods just past our backyard perimeter. So we're looking right at him, having turkey. I'm like, okay, I guess that's why people don't have bird feeders here.
Oh, and do you want to know what happens to the hummingbird moth? So earlier today, you had posted on Instagram, and they're beautiful.
Is it going to make me happy or sad?
Do you grow tomatoes?
Oh, yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
But just look for seeds.
I know.
Just look for eggs. That's all you have to do. Or use dipel.
That hummingbird moth was on the side of the road when we were walking, but we do have hummingbird moths by the Nepeta, and they're not far from the tomato plants.
Yeah, here too. But I'm not going to do all. You just go every day or twice a day, check under the leaves for little eggs, or if you really want to get into it, it's called dipel, and some people say it's still organic, whatever. But yeah, otherwise, have you ever had tomato hornworms?
Yeah.
They're like that big and they look like science fiction monsters.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Although really cool, someone posted on Instagram a picture of like the craziest looking thing I'd ever seen. It was kind of light colored, white cream colored, had all these like tentacles sticking out, long, diamond shaped, looked, swear to God, like some kind of alien attached to the plant.
Wow.
Luckily, she didn't kill it. She asked what it was. And gardeners were like, don't kill that. That's a ladybug larva. And those bad boys are going to grow up and eat all your aphids and all the bugs that are going to destroy your plants. So I haven't seen one of those yet.
Oh, cool.
That would be really exciting.
It's fun. Once you get into applying nematodes to your soil twice a day, we can talk. That's when things get really exciting. Beneficial nematodes, just like in the SpongeBob episode. Nematodes.
See, right now we haven't made the little garden in our side yard yet. We're just using earth boxes, those for container gardens. But once we do, we'll have a fence for the deer. But the guy that's going to build it for us also said we have to dig down about 6 to 8 inches to put this like a metal thing down. For the groundhogs. The groundhogs just go under there and eat everything. But then my brother's a hardcore birder. And so living our lives using products that are bird safe is tricky. It's way more work. But I feel like from Chicago, he would know. He would hear it if I sprayed myself with like deep bug spray or something.
Oh yeah.
He would know it. So we use this garlic spray. Do you use the garlic spray for mosquitoes? You should check it out. I will send you a link. It's super gross.
Is it also to repel people?
It totally does repel people. You mix it up in a Hudson sprayer and you spray the grass, and you have to redo it like every 3-4 weeks. But it's the only bird safe thing.
The bird safe, yeah, because we try to use like milky spore or the nematodes. Like we're trying to be as organic as possible, but we had a caterpillar infestation on a tree.
That's what we had on our table.
Thousands. If I stood next to it, I could hear.
Oh, stop it!
That was when I said, "I'm sorry, birds. I'm really, really sorry." And so we started spraying, and then it sounded like rain.
Oh God!
All the caterpillars destroyed.
I
can send you a video.
See, he makes me order from Gardens Alive, which is the company that is, So yeah, like the kale. You find a picture. The kale, we just sort of were like, okay, it's our go and God bless. Take the kale.
Little green guys, and when you squish them, they smell like kale. They smell like cabbage.
Yeah, this was our This is what happened to the kale. So
Yeah.
that's, and that way you can't really see, but it's covered in these little, that was the kale. Bye bye. It was, yeah. So we just gave that to them. Like, that is our gift to you. Go and God bless. Oh, these are the little froggies that live in our garden. We have two little frog residents.
Oh,
There's that guy. He likes
beautiful.
to chill in the lettuce. And then this one likes to chill at the base of the eggplant. But one of them got super traumatized because we opened the sliding door and didn't notice that he hopped inside the house. So he spent the night in the house, and he hid behind the entertainment center. And so their bodies are really sticky. And so sticky bodies of frogs meet bad housekeepers. That bad boy was a Swiffer.
You thought it was a rat or something?
No, but so when I opened the slider and I closed the screen, the little frog came out, and I'm like, honey, there's a frog in our house. And the frog kept hopping, and his little nose would hit the screen. I'm like, hold on. So I opened the screen and he hopped out, but he was having trouble hopping because his little sticky legs were like dragging the dust bunnies of the bad housekeepers. So we like put our fingers on the dust bunnies to let him hop away from it. But then I got really sad because he didn't come back for like 48 hours. And I thought he was traumatized and wasn't going to come back. And it's like the thing we were talking about, how everything is so, you're sort of oversensitive to everything right now because, everyone's, and I think that's a lot of like, even the yarn discussion, we're just, everything is so, we're just so raw. So like I was hysterical over the fact that the frog was traumatized and maybe wasn't going to come back. Like I took it really stupidly hard.
No, I hear you. Everything feels very acute right now.
Yeah. Yeah, every little thing. Like a friend of mine said, she didn't shut the freezer all the way and the ice cream melted. And she was like, forget it. That's why we can't have nice things. It's over. It's over.
Turn the house down. We're leaving.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyway, I should probably let you get back to work because, oh my gosh, you've been here forever. I always do this. I say like, we're going to chat for 45 minutes and then I just don't shut up. I've never seen these moths on Instagram. Amazing. Someone just looked them up. We have 2 hummingbird feeders and have like 30 birds all the time. We have 4 and only 1 will come to the feeder at once because they are really territorial.
Oh yeah.
So they'll chase each other. I wonder if any of them are female because they all behave like poorly socialized.
Do you ever see them? Do you ever get one of them going zoop, 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 zoop?
Like, yeah, I mean, the smallest one will do that, and I think they're checking to see if the bigger ones are not there, because they seem to like sort of check the feeder and then go back, and then check the feeder and go back. And they do this like.
You can know where the sexy lady is because the other hummingbird would be like zoop, 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 and he does it for a whole bunch. Like if you happen to be nearby, it's the coolest thing. He's like, really? ladies showing off. Zoop, zoop,
so it's a look at me?
Yeah. And you're like, okay, Greg, we heard you. Like, leave us alone. Yeah.
Oh, Bob, why do you got to be that way? Oh, Karen said I had tickets for VK Seattle canceled. Yeah, I know. But I really am enjoying the virtual Vogues. I'm really enjoying, and teaching virtually on my own platform. Like at least I can be with the people. I love your idea.
It's more intimate in a way. I think it's changing a lot. It's a forced stoppage that's kind of. Hopefully it will bring about some really good changes amidst all the horribleness.
That's an excellent point. Because did you see that video that was going around that an artist made that was so beautiful? A British guy who makes these little films, and it's in the future, and he's reading a story to a storybook to his little boy. It's bedtime, and he says, "Oh, read the Great Revelation." He's like, "Again," and and it's all in verse, and it's about this time where a great sickness came onto the world, and what happened was people looked up from their phones and turned off their televisions and started baking and playing games, and it was all this stuff. And so he finishes the whole story about what happened to the world and how it changed and how people understood that there was social inequity and financial inequity and racial inequity, and how people didn't want to go back to that and change the world. And he finishes the story, and then the boy said, but why did it have to happen that way? Why did so many people, and he says, because, dear boy, sometimes you have to get sick before you can get better. It's really great. I'll try to find it and send it to you. It's really beautiful.
Okay.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah,
I also get weepy really easily.
Understandable. Right? Everything is, I mean, like I wouldn't be surprised if gravity suddenly like, oh, guess what? Actually, gravity doesn't work anymore. Whoop, and we're all gonna like, what else? What else?
Yeah, we're just gonna float off the world. All right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Dust Bunny frog story, best ever. Oh my God. All right, I adore you. I'm so glad to see you. I cannot wait for the day when we can like have a drive-by in the hallway of Vogue like we usually do. Hi, bye. Or the rare occasions where, we're actually at a retreat and can have a meal or a cocktail, or, I had Affinity was going to be this Maine, but now it's virtual Affinity. But it's still going to be fun. We're still going to have a good time.
You will.
So, okay.
You need it now more than ever. So
I know.
Thank you for doing
I just changed my cool color. My hair went crazy. So all of my folks out there know what happens next. We have a saying that we say to each other. My hair is really bad now. Before we end. So for those of you, it's a 30-second delay. So I tell them, I prepare in advance. For those of you who have been with me a long time, before we sign off, what we say. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, knit on. So there. I should have added wear a mask, but no, it's just, that's my sign off, and now it's too long. Although I noticed that Seth Meyers changed his sign off. He always says, wash your hands, stay well, we love you. And now he says, wash your hands, put on a mask, stay well, we love you. So there. So we love you. We love you guys.
Thank you for being here.
And thank you for letting me blather on with you for so long.
Oh, it was fun. It was quite fun.
And now I need to learn all about the wool lasagna.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's your next book, Wool Lasagna Gardening.
Oh, okay. There is a thing called lasagna gardening. Okay. Yeah. I'll send you links.
Okay. And I'll find the video and I'll send you links. Okay. So now I have to do that thing where I figure out how to end this gracefully. Because I also have to sign off over here. So, okay, here we go. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Get ready and